Good morning, Max. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine so far. How is life in Paris this evening? And am I going to have a good day? Is today a good day?
Today is neither good nor bad. It's a fine day, I would say.
Fine day.
It's a fine day. And I'm going to share. Today, I want to do something slightly different. It's not going to be a super exciting story where I'm thrilled and want to put someone or some brand in the Hall of Fame. It's also not going to be a terrible story where I'm pulling my hair off because it's driving me crazy. It's somewhere in between, something that I find interesting and I'd like to have your eyes on, but neither really good nor really bad.
It strikes me. At Forrester, we do surveys of customers and stuff. And when you ask them how they feel about their experiences, like 2/3 of the people are like, meh. So it sounds like you've got a meh story and you're right with the most common customer experience.
I do have a story. We'll see where that leads. Should I get started?
Why not? Hop on the couch. Let's get going here.
All right, so let's do that. Here's the story. No secret, I have a young girl who's over a year old now, meaning that she has been going to daycare. By the way, how do you call it? Daycare or nursery? Daycare is the right word for you?
Daycare, yeah.
So she has been going to daycare for a year now, roughly, slightly less than a year. And I'm not going to talk about all the disease she catch there because it seems to be a common thread for every kid. Nothing special. What I wanted to talk about was before we brought her to daycare, we have a few friends who had kids 6 months to a year prior to us, so we could get the experience. And
you had some trailblazers out there to help you.
Exactly. And a couple of these friends told us the story of how amazing their daycare was, and the fact that they had an app for the parents, and that they would receive personal pictures of their kids and videos of the kids doing activities pretty much every day. So that it just helps you with the separation, which is always difficult when you are a new parent. At least for the first kid, might be different starting on the second one. I don't know. I've not been there yet. And we had not any expectation when we were already so happy to get a spot in the daycare, which is difficult enough to get a spot without waiting for 3 years. So we were thrilled with that. And when we went through the registration process, the local director was incredibly happy and proud to tell us they finally had an app like every other daycare around, and now we could do everything from the app and it would be amazing, and we had to download it right away and create an account and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, fantastic.
Life-changing.
Exactly. I did not expect to get anything. I'm getting something. This is fantastic. Let's try it. Downloading it was easy, like pretty much any app. You go on the Play Store, you download it. Creating your account was not the simplest of experiences. You still had to upload some documents that they already had for the whole registration, so you wonder why. But hey, they are new to apps. Why not? You open the app, or at least you try, and it keeps crashing over and over and over again because their login system was not stable enough. So you had to log in and type your password within 5 seconds, or the app would crash. So if you're fast enough, you're in. And we got in at some point. And then there is the app. You get some kind of news, which you get by email anyway, and it's all over the place when you go visit the daycare.
Special cookies on Thursday.
This kind of things. My girl did not eat cookies quite yet when she started daycare, but you get the drill. And then you got some pictures, which are nothing personalized. That's if you're lucky to go in the app the right day, you may see your kid somewhere in the background, but you never receive anything that's personalized in any way. And my personal biggest disappointment was around the fact that you could not do anything else with the app, meaning that if you had to request for holidays, or if you had to tell the daycare that there was a doctor appointment, she could not join, or she had a bad night, or she had some fever, she's going to be late, this kind of stuff, could not do it through the app. You had to call the daycare anyway, and they would still insist for you to send an email anyway, because that's how they track things. You could not make your payment online, which was a little bit frustrating. You could not track the number of holidays you had. I never knew my newborn would have holidays, actually, but she does. For some reason, that's really being
she's put in a lot of years working, or a lot of weeks anyway.
She's accumulating credits for future retirement, I'm guessing. And we could not pretty much do anything with the app. It's pretty slow. It's not working too well. You don't find anything interesting in it. And I just wanted to tell you that story because I did not expect to have an app in the first place. I wanted one because I see what my friends can get with it, and I think that's amazing that they can get this level of visibility over what the kid is doing. So I love the idea. I was very grateful they actually paid the effort to make it, and I'm still hopeful that year over year is going to improve and get better and maybe get new features. But in the same time, I'm just wondering what the use of spending probably such amount of time and money creating an app that's bringing zero value at the end of the day, because I really don't get anything out of it. So that was my story. Not an exciting one, not a terrible or terrific one either. But
there's a couple of interesting threads here, though. The first one that strikes me is what you just said at the end there. You weren't expecting anything. So, I think there's a expectation setting problem of, if they'd said, no, we don't have an app, you would have been perfectly fine. You never would have missed it. We wouldn't be having this conversation. But suddenly there was an app. So now you had an expectation. It sounds like it's kind of weird to talk about daycare as having competitors, but their competitors have a pretty good app that is much more functional. So I guess they probably didn't overpromise. They just said they had an app. But because of what else was out there in the market, you were expecting something much more than you got. So by doing something poorly, they ended up setting an expectation and creating a disappointment that didn't have to happen. I guess my first question is, are the other daycares, and I'm making an assumption here that they do have like a cool app that does cool stuff. Is that like part of a corporate thing or something where they have a centralized group that's doing it? Or is it sounds like yours is like a very mom and pop local thing. It's not like it's a big corporation by any stretch.
I may be wrong because I'm not familiar with the others. I'm just familiar with mine. That's actually the exact opposite. That's the other way around. Mine is part of a large corporate that doesn't do just daycare, by the way, but that's one of their main activities from what I understand. They have daycare centers all over the place. They have two just in my city, which is a small city, by the way. It's not. I don't live in Paris, in case you were wondering. And no, I would actually expect this kind of big company should have high-level quality app. And I'm guessing the others are more like a mom and pop shop, but they're in Paris. So, they have different types of parents with different types of expectations. So I guess there is competition when you're
that's interesting. Okay, so that's really interesting. So what I was going to say is the big corporate group, they can build one app and have it used across multiple centers. So it would make sense. They can invest, they can cost justify doing that. They've got the scale for that to make sense. I guess maybe there's hope that they will continue to invest in it and it'll turn into something nice over time. But, what I was going to say is, hey, you got a mom and pop daycare company. What do you expect? But it sounds like the mom and pop ones, and I could see where, one of the guys running it likes to dabble in technology. So they built a little cool app just because it was fun for them, like somebody doing podcasts or something like that.
I'd like to take that conversation to a different level. Let's not apply it to my story only. Let's not talk about daycare only. Let's talk about, why do people create apps? I seem to remember a story of yours a few months back. I think there was a Mexican restaurant of some sort where they had an app and it was not working as expected. And in the end, people, I mean, the staff was asking people, please give us a call.
Don't use the app, call us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here, I mean, again, I think the daycare did great. It's good they tried something. I don't think that was successful, but at least they tried it. Just wondering if that's why I'm paying more money for daycare, because I'd rather they don't create anything if that's the case. But let's take the conversation to a different level. If you are a company, whatever company you are, and you want to create an app, I think you first need to ask yourself, why do you do it? Is it because it's a customer ask? And if that's the case, what do your customers want out of it? Because they certainly don't just want an app. There's a bunch of features that they require. Start there, because creating an app for the sake of creating an app, everyone can do this, but you probably won't do it well if you don't dig into what are your customers' need. If you do this for yourself, to differentiate yourself from competition, then figure out what is it your competitors are doing, and I guarantee you're going to have to do at the very least as good as they do, because if you do something subpar, it's going to be worse than doing nothing. So if that's for competition, you might want to look into this. And if it's for your own processes or whatever it is, then you might want to dig into it as well, because if it's, it, in my example, could have helped the company better record sick leaves or holidays or payments or contracts. Oh, you have no idea how they manage contract. It's terrible. It's still paid for, sending by post. I still can't believe it. There might be something to do there. So generally speaking, look into why you do it and try to fix that specific problem. Don't create an app for the sake of creating an app.
Yeah. It's customer experience 101. What's the customer journey? And what do you want the customer journey to be? In this case, you outlined, it sounds like what they provided is a rehash of information that comes out on email and random general pictures. What you want is pictures targeted to you, communications back and forth, ability to pay, and I guess everything else falls under communications back and forth.
And the truth about this is, any of these things would be satisfactory to me. All of them would be fantastic, but any of these things would make it a good app. But I have none of them, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. So, and I mean, all I can say is what a miss.
And that's correct. That's really a miss, because I'm thinking that most people who downloaded the app, tried it, didn't like it, uninstalled it, they're not going to try it a second time. And it's daycare, so it probably doesn't matter, because you probably keep your customers for like 3 years and then you move on to different ones anyway. Because I'm not an expert. I'm guessing when your kids are 18, you no longer send them to.
You don't usually send. Although it depends on how many kids. If you have 5 kids, then you could be a steady stream for several years.
Probably, that is very true. But all right, so I think we can cut it here for today. I think I got the answers I was looking for, which is probably just think about customers first. Think about the customer journey. Don't think about doing things because you've heard it's good to do things. There's probably space to dig a little deeper into what customers.
Yeah. Even if you're doing Me Too, you still need to understand what it takes to be Me Too. They didn't even succeed in being Me Too. They were just irritating and pointless.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Max. That was a pleasure talking to you again. And I guess I will see you again next week then.
All right. That sounds great. I'll come ready with something to complain about.
Perfect. Thank you. Talk to you then.
All righty. Take care.
Bye, Max.